Hello, everybody. Thanks for checking out my stream today. My name is Jonathan, and today is day 382 of my 3-year challenge to lose 300 pounds. If this is your first time checking out my broadcast, a little bit about me and the challenge. I'm 39 years old. I've been overweight my whole life, and I got to a point last year where I knew I needed to do something about where I was. I allowed myself to get up over 500 pounds, and I didn't have any major health crisis, but I knew that if I continued down the path I was on, that eventually I would suffer from heart attack, stroke, a lot of different things. And so I created this challenge with two main goals in mind. The first main goal is that I needed to stick with something longer than I've ever done in the past. A lot of times before, I would do a diet for an event that was coming up or for a goal that was um that I would generally obtain fairly quickly. And then once I hit the goal, I would um kind of lose everything, or I would go back to my old ways and I would start putting the weight on. So I knew when I started this challenge that I needed to commit to the time. I needed to commit to a length of time that was long enough for me to lose the weight I need to lose, and also for me to find a way to maintain that weight loss in the way that I'm going to be eating the rest of my life. The other big part of this challenge is that I I need to lose a lot of weight. And like I said in the past, when I would lose weight, I would set goals and I would lose 50 pounds, or I would lose even more. And a lot of times I would hit my goals, but my goals would leave me at a position where I was still very overweight. In this challenge, for example, I started at 520 pounds. I've lost 200 pounds. It's an amazing amount of weight, and it's very easy to get caught up in the amount of weight that I've lost, but I'm still 320 pounds. I still have 100 pounds to lose. And so I set this goal so that when I'm sitting here saying I've reached my goal, I'm actually at a really healthy weight for somebody my size. So that's why I set a goal of losing 300 pounds. Like I said, everything's been going great. I'm just over a year in. I've lost 200 pounds. I've kind of been stalled out at this 315, 320 pound mark for a while. Well, actually, I don't know. I haven't got on the scale for a little while, but the last couple months weigh-ins, I've been stuck at this weight. And, um, and so, I'm looking forward to breaking through that plateau, but it's yeah. Um, so anyways, moving on. I don't know where I was going with that thought. If anybody has any non-scale victories they'd like to share, I'd love to hear your guys' non-scale victories. Any questions, comments, let me know. Um, and let me know how you're doing on your diets. If you've started a diet, let me know how it's going. If you haven't started a diet, what's keeping you from doing it? What's stopping you from getting started? What do you have to do to overcome that obstacle that's keeping you from getting started? Um, and if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel, click on the bell icon, turn on notifications. You'll get alerted when I go live, which is generally 4 p.m. on weekdays. Um, since yesterday, food has been great. I really have been trying to recommit to the SOS free portion of the whole food plant-based, and the whole food part of it too, because we allowed some processed things to get into our diet here the last few months, and hopefully getting back to the more rigid whole food plant-based SOS free will help get that extra weight that I have on my body off. And I have been feeling really good the last couple days physically. I've been eating, my schedule right now is eating 2 meals a day. I eat a breakfast and I eat dinner. Breakfast is almost always the same thing, a bowl of oatmeal with some toast, either toast with peanut butter on it or toast with avocado and pico de gallo and miso. And then for dinners, we've had a huge variety of dinners, and we've actually been trying a lot of new things for dinner the last few weeks. And so, but last night was not one of those nights we tried something new. Last night we had miso, which is definitely one of my favorite dinners that we have, and also one of Carrie's favorite dinners that we have. We have been working towards our kids eating the same diet that we're eating, or closer to the same diet that we're eating. And so last night was another night that we didn't present another option at the dinner table. The all of these foods are new for our kids, and they all have new textures and new flavors and new foods that they're going to be turned off by because of, just the way they look. And the funny thing though is that each of our kids has a completely different reason or a different night. The same meal might affect them differently at this point, and it's really tough to get them pleased. But last night was an example where our one daughter, who the night before didn't enjoy much of the dinner, I believe, or is generally very picky, she really liked the soup we had, whereas we had a couple other kids that were more difficult to get them to eat. And then we have one kid that is like me and they'll eat anything. So, but we are getting them more accustomed to this diet, and it's difficult because as their parents, we want to be making sure that they're happy as much as possible, but we're also wanting to make sure that they're healthy. And having for me it was so different, and for Carrie I'm sure it's the same way. But I eat so many meals with zero regard for what the flavor or for what the texture is going to be. When I started this diet, I knew that I was going to have to be open to new things. And it's something that as an adult we're able to do, and it's really tough to get the kids to see it. But a lot of times Carrie's making these meals, and something like the Buddha bowl we had the other day, she makes a bunch of ingredients and there's a bunch of different options, and it's kind of like make your own thing. And I am kind of like, I don't care how it's made at this point. Like it's I want it to be the best it's going to taste, or, so I want a good mix. But when trying these foods that I've never had before, or combinations that we haven't had before, I'm just extremely open, and I've been really happy with the results of me being open. The Buddha bowl, for instance, I really liked it. I didn't realize how much I was going to like the chickpeas in it, but I really liked that part of it. And also the sauce. I was extremely nervous picking which sauce was going to make it taste the best, or what because the sauces on their own don't taste near as good as them mixed with the food. And then also the salad we had the other day. We tried a new dressing. It was more of an apple and vinegar mixed dressing, and I was really nervous about trying it. But I also I've given full confidence into the quality of the food that we're eating. And so I don't I don't worry so much about if it's not going to taste good, because a lot of times it does end up tasting good. And even if it doesn't taste amazing, it's no worse than some of the meals I used to eat in the past. Like if it just got messed up or there was something missing from it, uh, like just one ingredient missing from it. Um, and so it would be difficult to say that this is any, because on average, the meals we try, 98% of them are great. And that was the way it was before on other diets. So that was a big part for me is being open and willing to try these new things and not being stubborn like my kids are, and realizing that I was so stubborn for so many years, not willing to try any of these foods. And so many of them are my favorite parts of meals, like cucumbers and rice and things like that. So, um, and so yeah, it's been an interesting transition, allowing myself to be open to those foods and enjoying them. And I'm hoping that eventually our kids can really start to be more adventurous. They are doing a really good job with what we're presenting them with, because it is such a deviation from um, the diet that they're used to and that we raised them to this point on, or up to a year ago on. Uh, I mentioned yesterday that I should go back and watch some of my videos from a year ago. And so I did. I was like, I'm going to go back and just kind of see what my mentality was on day 12 of, because the three videos I watched that are kind of around this time is I watched the day 12 video, I watched the day 16 video, and I watched the day 17 video. And the audio at the beginning of the day 12 video is really awful. I've had that happen before, where anytime I brought up video, the audio would go out. And so, but I was just watching it, and it was amazing that in the first 12 days, I had already lost 45 pounds. And some of the same things I was talking about then are things that are kind of that I talk about now. There's some things that I don't really discuss at all, which I don't know whether or not I should bring them back or not, with some of like what I was doing with the million calorie challenge and stuff, but it just slowed down so much. Like it was, the number was anyways. But one of the things I talked about on day 12 was having less pain in my legs and my feet in the morning. And when I get up, not having that kind of having to be careful with where I step, because I didn't want my ankles to roll the wrong way or do the wrong thing. And I still think about that every morning when I get up and kind of slide to the end of the bed and go to pop up and walk, to the bathroom generally first thing in the morning. Um, I still think about how I don't have to worry about it, or like it kind of briefly even pops into my head that to just be careful, and then it's like, well, it's not, that pain's not there anymore. And then I also talked about some of like the calluses that I used to have on my feet, and that I had seen the doctor kind of had him cut one of them off the side of my foot at one point. And those have not been a thing at all. My feet are like, I was talking about how hard the bottom of my feet are. And I also, it's amazing in a year's time, the softness on the bottom of my feet is pretty incredible. And it could probably be softer if like I took care of my feet. Let's see. So yeah, and so it was just kind of crazy to go back and watch those old videos. Um, the and like talking about, like, I didn't have any idea on day 12 what my diet was going to be on day 30. I didn't know what I was going to do after the extended fast on day 12, and I was still doing research and talking about that. And some of my speaking, like some of the things I say, like on day 17's video, I kind of was like, I mentioned veganism as an option, which I don't know if, yeah, I think I just kind of mentioned it because my brother was eating a vegan diet, and he was kind of the one recommending that at the time. And so to see what I was talking about then, and then kind of switching to this, and even like the comments I made were being worried that if I switched to a diet, it was going to be boring, because a lot of times when I would when I would eat a diet to lose weight, it would generally be because I would cut to a really low calorie, and I would stick to a routine. Carrie says, hello, I'm running around, but I am listening. Awesome. I hope everything's going great. The And a lot of times I would get into a routine, and I would eat the same foods, the same breakfast, same lunch, same dinner. And I do eat the same breakfast now, but I don't mind it at all. Like, having the variety at dinner really is um been extremely satisfactory, especially with the new things we've been trying, like the slurry something we had the other day, and some of the other things. Um, but so, but listening also to some of the things I was saying in those videos about how my entire relationship with food needed to change, and switching to a whole food plant-based diet, SOS free, could not be a further deviation from the diet I was eating before. And so, as far like that, to me, is a big part of this. Was I was at the time 520 pounds, and I'm just trying to find the a way the way to get away from where I was. And that's what the fasting was going to be, is the great reset kind of thing, the just to if eating 6,000 calories a day made me 500 pounds, sorry, closer to higher than that, but maybe 500 pounds, and then eating 0 calories a day is going to make me, it's going to go the opposite direction as fast as I can. And so the ingredient lists on the food now are completely different. There's not even I mean, just no overlap. I mean, so many times, um, I look at the food I'm eating now and just think about how crazy it is. I really didn't even know that these things really existed, um, and how much I enjoy them now. Um, but the things that I still struggle with, that I was talking about at the time, a year ago, is temptation. And the temptations are different. It's a different, um, it's different than I thought they were going to be. And uh, it's an extreme deviation, cause when I'm talking about this stuff, I'm making food for my kids. It's, macaroni and cheese, and it's, probably chicken patty sandwiches and other things that uh, I wouldn't even consider even remotely trying. But there are things that would be tempting, like an Oreo. Like, I haven't had an Oreo, but an Oreo would be considered a a vegan item, I guess. It's one of those things where it depends on how, like, I've gotten less strict on what I was calling my diet, and now I'm going back though. So, um, but so there's still things I could eat that uh would be considered not on my diet, like the impossible chicken nuggets that wouldn't be really. I don't know. It depends. I mean, different people have different opinions on it, but uh, that temptation's still there to try those things that are uh, that you've allowed yourself to have, that if you have too much of, will be a bad thing. I guess maybe that's the best way to say that. Um, but yeah, and just the what I know now, like the struggles I and just the difference I know in. Another example I was talking about in there was like getting my daughter something that was like a single meal for like one person, and just kind of looking at that. And I think the example was getting her like pancakes and sausage at um right, Carrie's. Yes, processed vegan food is tempting, but not meat and cheese. I'm not tempted by any animal products at this point. It's the processed vegan foods that are still tempting. Um, but the meal I'd gotten her was pancakes and a sausage patty from McDonald's. And I looked it up at the time. I think it was 750 calories for it. But when you look at that volume of food, like it's just like a couple, maybe two or three small pancakes. Like I never ordered it. I mean, other than but it's not a lot of pancakes, and it's like one sausage patty and a hash brown, and it's like, to put that in a bowl, it's not a lot of food, and especially for the calories that it is, and in comparison to like the salads that we eat or some of these rice bowls that we eat that um are the calorie density of these foods is just so much different. Uh, and I didn't know about that at the time, and I didn't realize how much like I was looking at those things, and the volume of what you can eat when you have processed foods is extremely low. When you allow yourself to have the dairy and the oils and the highly processed foods, it's extremely high calorie, low volume. And it's been awesome over the past year, kind of realizing that calorie density is a big part of what is, my ability to lose weight. Um, let's see. But yeah, so it was cool to go back and watch those videos. And I do recommend going back and looking at them if you guys are trying to start your diets, and seeing what I was thinking about at the time and talking about at the time, because there was, it's tough for me to look back in hindsight on those moments. But it is nice that I have these videos that I can go kind of see what I was saying, and I can hear me heavily breathing into the microphone. And I mean, physically, I'm much larger as well. So it's weird going back and watching the videos. Let's see what else I had. So I started a new book yesterday. I wasn't sure what I was going to do, and then I started to hear a podcast. Uh, it's the Rich Roll podcast, and it's a really interesting podcast. He goes very long form, and has very long, in-depth conversations with his guests. And he had a guest on in the past week that his name was Simon Hill. And just listening to Simon talk about his transition into a more plant-based diet, and ultimately it's not like I'm reading his book, and I'll get into it, but yeah, he was on his podcast talking about his kind of history with a plant-based diet. He switched to a plant-based diet within the past 5 years. He also kind of a similar thing, his brother actually was one of the influencers in his going to a plant-based diet, or at least investigating a plant-based diet. I think he did a lot more investigation than I did, or a lot more research, but his brother was the one that had suggested it, and then he converted in the last 5-7 years. He switched over to a plant-based diet. Is it still streaming? Is that why you're saying grr? Or did I say something that made you say grr? Error. If there's an issue with the stream, let me know. Because I got a quick error there. So yeah, I'm going to keep going. Maybe I can do this as I talk. But yeah, so I was listening to his interview. It was really interesting. So I decided to get his book that is, I believe the book is called Plant Proof. Yeah, the proof is in the plants is the name of his book. Simon Hill has a podcast, I believe, called Plant Proof. And so I started listening to that book on my, oh, Carrie said grr because I'm stealing her Audible credits. Yes. And yeah, she went to go buy a book, and I bought a book. I bought the book last night, so she had to have checked to buy a book shortly after I did. But I bought the book. The proof is in the plants, and listened to it on the way in. I'm only a half hour into the book. I'm really happy with it so far, though. I really like it. The foreword is done by another guy that does podcasts. His name is Will Bolshewitz. He goes by Dr. B, I think. He wrote a book that I'll probably use the next credit on if Carrie's not quick enough. He wrote a book called Fiber Fueled that was really popular. And he wrote the foreword to Simon Hill's book that I was just listening to. And his foreword, there's so many people, I think, that would relate to kind of what he was saying. That, and then like the nervousness of switching to a plant-based diet, like, what are you going to eat? What if I'm not able to adapt to the taste of it, and that you never thought you'd ever give up meat. Like there was no way. And that's the same way. I was the same way. I never thought I'd give up meat, but you tried exercise. He talks about, you try and exercise and it doesn't work. And, you're eating the foods that you grew up eating. And, he started to realize that that was what was holding him back. And so, I really like the foreword. And so I'm probably I'm going to look at checking out more from that, Dr. B. He also has, an Instagram page. I think it's like the gut. Oh, I didn't write it down. It's like the Gut Health MD or something, is his Instagram account that I probably won't be able to get up very fast. But, so I started listening to that book. I really liked it. And then Simon was talking about his dad and an experience that he had with his dad, having a heart attack. And there was a couple things I've seen in this past week that really caused me to realize that I took my cardiac health for granted. Like that. And the book whole talks about this a lot too, that when these symptoms pop up, like when they notice cancer, which is what they talk about in Whole a lot, it's already to the point that it's extremely bad. Like that in some cases, like it's hard to detect early, and most people don't come in until the pain or causes enough discomfort that when they look at it, it's really bad at that point. And heart attacks are the same way. Like the maybe the chest pains that I was having, or the discomforts like that I would kind of brush off as being muscle pain because I had done work that day or done something in particular that would cause the pain. Um, so then, but like that's there's no warning when you have a heart. Well, there are those warnings, but you brush them off, and then the heart attack just happens, and like it's and you might die from the heart attack when you have the heart attack, or you might live, but you also like you don't have just the danger of having the heart attack. So you have the danger of you have the heart attack while you're walking somewhere and you fall down and you hit your head, and then hitting your head causes you to die. Or um I'm in a position where I work kind of alone in a building that nobody's around. If I got to work and had a heart attack at 9:30 in the morning, it might not be till that evening that somebody would really notice or really kind of start to question something. And so and like I said, I'm just realizing how much I took it for granted that I was literally every day playing Russian roulette with heart attacks, and now it's amazing the difference I feel, especially in those regards. Like I've never felt more. uh Carrie says, "Oi, I am glad you are a vegan." Yes. Um, I've never felt more confident that my diet is, you know, improving my health. And, there was a video I watched with Dr. Furman today that he was talking about eating nuts and how there's scientific evidence that shows that when you eat nuts, that even if you're eating bad fats, like if you have bad fats in your blood, that the nuts will put good fat in your blood from the nuts, and it'll actually attach to the bad fats and remove them from your blood. Like that 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 the diet is like things like examples like that are just extreme examples of how much the diet affects overall health, and how like those processed things like the diet sodas. I talked about that in one of the days, is that it was crazy to be that far, away, being 10 days or 12, whatever, 16 days in and not having diet soda at that point. And at this point, I would never have a diet soda again. I would drink a regular soda that has sugar in it before I would drink a diet soda. Um, and there's other things where there's sweeteners and there's chemicals that they use um that I'd be better off using refined sugar than eating some of those things. And so the uh it like I just didn't give enough weight to my nutrition and my overall health, even though it's so tough to say that, because I knew what I was eating was killing me. Like I knew that I was uh I was eating a quantity and a quality of food that was subpar. So, but now the food's amazing and I feel great, and I walk around and just amazed at my flexibility. Again, I talk about being able to cross my legs, and that's a thing. Yeah. I tied my shoes. This would be the non-scale victory, the most recent one I could think of. I tied my shoes while sitting in the driver's seat of my car, and the door was closed. Like, I was able to reach down around my steering wheel and tie my shoe while my car was parked. And that's not, I mean, I didn't even know that was something that was possible. And so, and I'm still got 100 pounds to lose. I still got a ways to go, but it's amazing every day, just the way I feel. And just, I'm like 6 months away from turning 40, and just like the grasp I feel I have on my health and nutrition right now, I'm so excited for the next 40 years. And uh I also sit here and think about, I got 6 months left to go, until I'm 40. How much should I push it to get as light as possible until at that point? But I think the best way is to just let it happen at this point, because that was a goal I had at the beginning that I didn't like. It was, the kind of theme I've had, I wanted to figure out how to eat like somebody that was thinner, that was somebody that was a healthy weight, and eating in moderation seems so difficult. And with this diet, I get to eat a larger volume of food. It's extremely satisfactory, and that's what I've needed. And it's anyways, I kind of been all over the place here for the last few minutes. But so I guess I got started this because I'm listening to the book. The Proof is in the Plants. I like everything about it so far. I'm excited to get in the car, listen to it on the way home tonight. And yeah, I think I got through everything I was going to talk about. I'm going to keep watching those videos. Like I said, if you're starting off your diet, I would recommend going back and seeing what I was saying at those times. It might help you out. Help my view count out too. Just anyways. But I'm going to get out of here today. I want to thank you guys for checking out my broadcast. If you haven't already subscribed, make sure you do get subscribed. Click on the bell icon to turn on notifications. You get alerted when I go live, generally 4 p.m. on weekdays. I have a Discord that you can find the link to that down below. I did share I'm going to try to share some meals on there. I can't remember what Carrie said we were having for dinner tonight, but it might be something new. But I'm trying to just kind of share those pictures of those meals on the Discord. And then Carrie also has a Pinterest that has a lot of these recipes and these meals that we're eating. If you're looking for ideas, that's a great spot to see kind of the different things that we're eating or trying on there. And then if you haven't started your diet yet, get started right now. There's no reason to wait. There's nothing coming up that's so important that you should put off your well-being for. And if you're sitting there saying, I've tried every diet before, I've done everything, I've exercised, I've gone to the meetings, you're really interested to find out if you did a whole food plant-based diet and if you committed to it for a long time, because I have been extremely happy with it, and I think you would be too. Even if you don't try this diet, get started on something. Put something I talked about, put brackets on your eating, put some sort of cap. I'm not going to eat after this point. I'm not going to eat before this point. I'm not going to eat this type of food or from these places. Start to get those calories down, or start to get the food, get rid of the processed foods. Let's do that. Get rid of the processed foods, get rid of the oils. Those are two big things. But I will be back on tomorrow. I want to thank you guys for checking out my broadcast. You guys all have a great evening.